Today, we're going to discuss the challenges of school leadership. The purpose of this presentation is to examine how Chapter 5 of Breakthrough Principles, the O'Malley et al. Case study, and the Texas Principal Standards will inform my development as a future principal. So, in looking at Chapter 5, you have 4 key levers. Um, they include recruitment and onboarding, instructional leadership, performance monitoring and evaluation, and professional learning and collaboration. Within those, you have different actions that the principal must take in order to improve teacher quality, including intentionally recruiting and selecting people to support the school's vision and mission and to ensure that we're meeting the needs of students and providing consistent support, developing leadership capacity within teachers so that we can continuously support teacher growth and building that culture of continuous learning and improvement. Also, engaging in being visible, having frequent classroom evaluations and observations, and providing feedback and coaching cycles. And lastly, with supporting teacher learning with specific and targeted professional learning and fostering collective buy in. Overall, what I got from chapter 5 is that instructional leaders should be visible and doing the work alongside everyone. They should provide actionable feedback and support and think strategically about putting the best people into places where that they can thrive and grow and ultimately help students. And there should be ongoing formative feedback and coaching rather than solely focusing on summative evaluations, just as a teacher would in a classroom, providing that feedback so that students can grow before they get that target. You want, as a principal, to model and demonstrate those best practices in teaching and learning by providing that formative feedback so that teachers can grow in their craft before getting to that summative evaluation. If you look at the case study by O'Malley, What Do You Do All Day? There are some specific challenges facing Brigadoon High School. In it, they have declining math scores. Teacher morale is incredibly low. There are issues with compliance for including special education students into the traditional classroom setting for inclusion. Um, LGBTQ students are experiencing some safety concerns. They don't feel supported or welcomed. There's some demographic changes. And of course, as always, there's parent and community pressures because of these challenges, which have also led to media attention. And on top of all of that, the principal has to deal with accountability demands because the district is worried about those declining math scores. The key takeaway that you can get from this is that overall, principals are going to face multiple challenges and they're going to happen simultaneously. And regardless of the amount of challenges, the principal still has to lead the school and ensure that they are meeting the needs of all students. Overall, principals do have that ethical and legal responsibility to ensure that schools are safe, supportive, and inclusive environments that serve the best interests of all students while also meeting those accountability demands from the state and district when it comes to test scores. When looking at the early challenges for career principals, you can see that in the O'Malley case study that there's some identified issues that a lot of early career principals face, including lack of understanding of every aspect of principalship, um, feeling pressured to focus more on the managerial aspects of being a principal instead of instructional leadership, those multiple competing demands that all require attention simultaneously, an overall fear of failure, um, feeling very isolated, and then, of course, the building positive relationships and strong school cultures within the staff. This connects really well to like the early years of teaching, because when you're an early career teacher, you really get thrown into the deep end, despite the fact that you went through the college courses of what teaching is supposed to be. Um, I think this is very true for principals as well. Um, each school and community and district is different, and there's really no true way to be completely prepared. And because of that, new principals face a lot of challenges because they're trying to figure out how to lead and figuring out who they are as a leader. As such, those challenges are going to require um, the principal to build systems that are sustainable and that can support their development and also the development of the school. So to do that, they have to focus on building relationships with staff, finding mentors, and doing everything in the power to ensure that principals are focusing on being an instructional leader and what is most beneficial for the school and the students. The case and Chapter 5 really connect to the Texas Principal Standards, including instructional leadership, human capital, executive leadership, school culture, and strategic operations. In this, you look and you see that there's this need based on Chapter 5 for frequent observations and feedback, using data-driven decision making, and developing instructional quality. Goes into the case study with human capital, because having to foster that collaboration, providing support, building teacher capacity, and also trying to ensure that the people that are most needed are where they need to be. And then, of course, the other things come in as well, with prioritizing demands and making the right decisions and building that school culture that is inclusive and supporting the teachers, all while managing accountability demands and ensuring that the school is functioning properly. I think principals lead more effectively when they integrate all of these standards rather than seeing them as separate responsibilities, because everything does really build into each other. When we talk about equitable leadership and inclusive practices, we do see some issues in the O'Malley case with the changing student demographics, not being um, having the supports that are needed for EL students, inclusive practices for students receiving special education, and LGBTQ students feeling unsafe and uncomfortable. And then, of course, you have the staff with deficit thinking about student abilities and believing that they can't achieve. So, as a future principal in this case, I would start by conducting an equity audit to identify specific issues and challenges and to try to find root causes. I would want to build and foster a school culture where all students feel safe and valued and belonging. I would also want to challenge staff mindsets, promote culturally responsive teaching and leadership, and provide that ongoing support and professional learning to move teachers into a better position to meet students' needs. So when we look at how these readings relate to my future practice, I will prioritize instructional leadership. I do not believe that good leaders can lead from the office, that they must be visible and approachable. I will embed protected time to go to classrooms and attend PLCs, and I will engage in specific, targeted, and actionable feedback loops and provide the supports. I also think it's key to build strong relationships with all stakeholders. I will listen actively to students and families and community members, and also absolutely the teachers that I work with. I will want to be clear and transparent. I'll also want to prioritize the needs of students and staff, and again, be approachable so that people can feel like they can come to me with their issues. Additionally, I will want to build systems that are sustainable and are built proactively rather than worry about reactive leadership. I want to use data to make decisions, identify root causes, develop collaboratively, and focus on making sustainable choices. So, in conclusion, effective principals are not just managers of school operations. They create equitable systems that support students and staff. They develop talent and think strategically over who should be in what position. They focus on student success and needs despite the multiple demands, and they lead with a purpose and prioritize building relationships. And lastly, they ensure that all of their decisions support teaching, learning, and equity. And these are my references.